It started, like so many college stories do, in a half-empty parking lot on a chilly October evening. The air was damp with the smell of wet leaves, streetlights buzzing faintly overhead as students hurried across campus, clutching laptops and coffee cups. Tyler, a 21-year-old junior with a quiet presence in an old pickup truck, noticed a silver sedan sitting awkwardly in the corner of the lot. The hood was popped open, and beside it stood a girl, dark hair tied in a messy bun, arms crossed, frustration painted across her face. That was Veronica. She was calling someone on her phone, though by the way she kept sighing, it was obvious no one was answering. Tyler wasn't the kind of guy who liked to get involved in strangers' problems. He had spent most of his life being careful not to impose. Growing up in a modest household where money was always tight, he'd learned the value of fixing things with his own hands, of showing up when people needed you. His father, a mechanic who worked long hours, used to tell him, "Son, loyalty is the one thing you can give away and never run out of." Maybe that's why Tyler didn't hesitate. He walked over, offered a small smile, and asked if she needed help. She looked at him, skeptical at first, then relieved. "Battery's dead," she muttered, stepping aside. Within minutes, Tyler had the jumper cables out, connecting her car to his truck. The engine roared back to life, and the way Veronica's face lit up felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. She thanked him, her voice warm and enthusiastic, and insisted on buying him coffee. That coffee turned into 2 hours of conversation in a dimly lit cafe off campus, where she told him about her marketing major, her love of music festivals, and how she hated being slowed down by small stuff. Tyler didn't notice it then, but that moment set the tone for their entire relationship. She had a problem, and he was the solution. For the next 3 years, that pattern only deepened. Veronica was the kind of girl who attracted attention wherever she went. Confident, outgoing, the center of gravity in every room. Tyler, by contrast, was steady, dependable, the guy who remembered birthdays, who offered rides to the airport at dawn, who covered a late bill without making her feel guilty. Whenever her car made a strange noise, he was under the hood. When she was short on rent, his car was there to bridge the gap. When her friends needed help moving apartments, Tyler's pickup became their moving truck. He told himself this was love, that this was what a good boyfriend did. But the truth was harder to admit. For every favor he gave, the return was silence. The first crack appeared when Tyler's grandmother passed away. It was a small funeral out of town, and Veronica had promised she would be there. But the morning of, she texted him from an airport lounge. Something about a long-planned girls' trip she couldn't miss. Tyler drove alone, mourning in silence, convincing himself she would come as circumstances were different. Later, when he caught the flu and asked her for soup, she told him she was too exhausted from yoga to stop by. Again, he swallowed his disappointment, reminding himself that she was busy, that relationships were about compromise. From the outside, they looked perfect. Their Instagram was full of couple selfies, smiling faces on hiking trails, in cozy coffee shops, at holiday parties. But behind every photo was a quiet imbalance. Veronica shining, Tyler holding the camera, Veronica asking, Tyler giving. He ignored the gnawing feeling inside that he was more caretaker than partner. Whenever doubt crept in, he silenced it with one thought. This is love. Love means sacrifice. What Tyler didn't know was that this pattern, the endless giving, the quiet swallowing of his own needs, was slowly shaping him into something he never thought he'd become, a doormat in his own relationship. And though he couldn't see it yet, the day was coming when that truth would crash down on him, hard enough to change everything. 6 months before everything collapsed, the rhythm of their relationship began to shift. Veronica had landed a new job at a sleek downtown marketing firm, the kind of place with exposed brick walls, neon signs that read "Hustle Harder," and free kombucha on tap. To Veronica, it felt like stepping into the life she always believed she was meant to live. To Tyler, it felt like watching her drift toward a world where he didn't belong. At first, he was proud of her. She would come home in tailored blazers, speaking about networking opportunities and building her brand. But soon, nights at home together turned into late evenings at rooftop bars, team happy hours, with co-workers whose names Tyler never learned. Her Instagram began to fill with polished snapshots, champagne glasses clinking against a city skyline, group photos at exclusive lounges, candid laughter under strobe lights. Tyler often recognized the setting before the people. He knew the backgrounds, but the faces were strangers. He tried to keep up. He'd show up at one of her work events, standing awkwardly in his button-down while Veronica laughed effortlessly with Damien, the smooth-talking co-worker who always seemed to have a hand at the small of her back. The conversations whirled around brand strategies, influencer campaigns, and travel plans. Tyler would nurse his drink, invisible, while Veronica lived in a world of lights and noise. At home, the distance only widened. The once familiar comfort of quiet nights, movies, takeout, long talks, turned into Veronica scrolling through her phone, giggling at Damien's jokes in group chats, brushing off Tyler's attempt to plan time together. When he voiced his feelings, she would roll her eyes. "You're being insecure, Tyler. Can't you just be happy I'm advancing my career?" He'd retreat, ashamed, wondering if maybe she was right. Maybe he was holding her back. But he kept trying. That summer, he poured himself into planning a trip, something to pull him back to who they used to be. A 3-day camping getaway in the mountains. He spent weeks preparing, buying supplies, mapping trails, even cleaning out his truck bed for sleeping bags under the stars. He'd picture it vividly. Just the two of them, no distractions, the crackle of firewood, the kind of silence where you could finally hear someone's heart. The night before they were set to leave, his phone buzzed. A text from Veronica. "Can't go. Damien scored passes to this exclusive music festival. Once in a lifetime. You understand, right?" Tyler stared at the screen, his chest hollowing. He reminded her of the trip, of how long he'd been planning it, of how much it meant. Her reply came sharp, dismissive. "You're being controlling. You can't expect me to drop opportunities for something boring like camping." That night, as the tent and gear sat packed by the door, Tyler scrolled through Instagram stories. He hated himself for it, but he couldn't stop. There she was, draped across Damien's shoulders, glitter on her cheeks, laughing into the neon haze of the festival crowd. In one video, she lifted a drink to the camera and shouted, "Thank God I didn't go on that boring camping trip." The words cut deeper than she would ever know. Tyler felt something shift inside him, like a thread snapping after years of strain. He wasn't angry so much as empty. For the first time, he asked himself a question he had been avoiding for 3 years. What if love wasn't supposed to feel like this? What if this wasn't love at all? When Veronica came home the next evening, glitter still faintly smeared across her collarbone, Tyler finally spoke. His voice was low but steady, trembling only from the weight of years unsaid. He told her how invisible he felt, how he had always been there when she needed him, and how, in return, she was never there when he needed her most. He didn't mention the Instagram. He didn't confess how it felt to see her wrapped around Damien, mocking the trip he had built out of hope. Instead, he simply laid bare the truth. "I feel like you take me for granted, like I'm not a partner, just a convenience." And that was when the mask cracked. Veronica's eyes narrowed, her tone sharp, almost venomous. "You know what, Tyler? I'm so sick of you guilt-tripping me. Just because you choose to do things for me doesn't mean I owe you anything. I don't need you to fix my car or pay my bills. I've always had better options. Damien's been offering to help for months. My parents would cover my rent if I asked. I have plenty of people who do anything for me. I'm with you because I choose to be, not because I need you." Her words landed like a slap, sharper than any raised hand. For 3 years, Tyler had convinced himself that love was sacrifice. But now, standing in the quiet aftermath of her laughter, he realized the truth. To her, his sacrifices were nothing more than favors, temporary conveniences in a life where he was never meant to matter. And in that silence, with the weight of 3 years pressing against his chest, Tyler spoke the words that would change everything. "Then you won't need my help either." Veronica didn't flinch when he said it. She laughed, actually laughed, like his words were nothing more than a bad joke. She leaned against the counter, arms folded, a half-smile tugging at her lips. "Fine by me. Maybe now you'll stop acting like you owe me just because you do a few favors." Tyler just stood there, staring at the woman he thought he loved. In that moment, it was as if a veil had lifted. For 3 years he had been giving, sacrificing, stretching himself thin, only to be told it meant nothing. The laughter, the dismissal. It was more painful than any breakup line could have been. Without another word, he grabbed a duffel bag, tossed in clothes, and left the apartment. That night, he crashed on the worn leather couch at his buddy Jared's place. The apartment smelled faintly of takeout and energy drinks, video game controllers scattered on the coffee table. Jared, half asleep when Tyler arrived, didn't ask questions at first. But when Tyler finally told him everything, Jared just shook his head slowly. Man, you should have left years ago. The next morning, Tyler began the quiet process of cutting ties. It wasn't revenge, it was survival. He logged into Netflix, changed the password, did the same with Spotify, Amazon Prime, HBO Max services Veronica had been using for years without paying a cent. He removed her card from his Amazon account, shut off the streaming lifeline she treated as her own. He expected silence. Instead, his phone buzzed almost immediately. Why isn't Netflix working? Did you change the Spotify password? This is so petty, Tyler. He didn't respond. For the first time in years, he didn't rush to fix things. If she truly had better options, let her lean on them. By the third day, the texts escalated. Tyler, this isn't funny anymore. I need the HBO login for my viewing party tonight. Are you seriously this childish? Damien says you're being emotionally abusive by cutting me off like this. Tyler chuckled bitterly at that one. Damien, the man she chose over him, lecturing about relationships. The irony stung, but it also fueled his resolve. Then came Thursday. Tyler was on his lunch break at work, sitting in his truck with the windows down, enjoying the faint smell of summer rain, when his phone buzzed with an unknown number. It was the pizza place near their old apartment, asking why his card had been declined for Veronica's order. Confused, Tyler told him he hadn't placed any order. That's when it clicked. She'd memorized his card number and had been using it without his knowledge. He told the restaurant to cancel the order. 20 minutes later, his phone lit up with call after call. He didn't answer, but the voicemails came in rapid fire. Veronica's voice was shrill, angry, humiliated. You embarrassed me in front of my coworkers. I promised them lunch, and you sabotaged me. Do you realize how unprofessional you made me look? Tyler stared at the screen, jaw tightening. Sabotage? He hadn't swiped her card. He hadn't memorized numbers that weren't his. Yet somehow, in her twisted narrative, his refusal to keep enabling her had turned him into the villain. That night, Jared showed him Veronica's latest Instagram story. She was at another upscale bar, Damien and a group of co-workers clinking glasses around her. The caption read, "Surround yourself with people who add value to your life. Hashtag leveling up, hashtag know your worth." Tyler felt a strange calm wash over him. Once, those words would have cut deep, made him question his worth. Now, they only confirmed what he already knew. He had been nothing more than an option, a tool she used when it suited her. But fate wasn't done testing him. Friday afternoon, as Tyler was leaving work, his phone buzzed again. "Can you please send me $200? I'll pay you back Monday." Emergency. He ignored it. A second message followed, more desperate. "Tyler, please. I know you're reading these. This is important." The calls came next, but he let them ring. He refused to be dragged back in. For the first time, he was free from the cycle of help now, regret later, until Saturday morning, 2:47 a.m. His phone rang again, the screen glowing in the dark. An unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. Her voice was shaky, panicked. "Tyler, I need you to come get me. My car broke down. I'm on Highway 83, near Exit 42. Please, I'm scared." Tyler sat in silence, staring at the ceiling. The irony wasn't lost on him. This was it. The moment she always assumed he'd come running. The moment he was supposed to prove, once again, that no matter how badly she treated him, he would still save her. But he remembered her words. "I've always had better options." And for the first time in 3 years, Tyler was ready to let her prove it. The highway at night has a sound of its own, a low, endless hum of tires on asphalt, broken only by the occasional roar of a passing truck. When Tyler answered the call, he could hear Veronica's breathing over the line, ragged, uneven, and somewhere in the background, the whoosh of cars flying past. "Where are you exactly?" he asked, his voice calm, almost attached. "Highway 83, near exit 42. "Please, Tyler, my car won't start." And her voice cracked. "There's this guy who keeps driving by slowly. I'm scared." For a moment, Tyler felt the old instinct rise up, that urge to grab his keys, to throw on a jacket, to be the hero she always expected. But then, her words from just days ago replayed in his mind like a cruel echo. "I've always had better options." He swallowed hard. "Call Damien," he said flatly, "or your parents, or AAA. "I did." He's not answering. No one's answering. "Please, Tyler. I'm sorry about what I said." The apology sounded hollow, like it had been dragged out only by fear. He closed his eyes. For 3 years, he'd been her safety net, always catching her fall. But what happens when the net is gone? "Then call 911 if you're in danger," he told her. "Or call a tow truck. You've got options, remember?" Silence on the line. Then a desperate whisper. "Please, there's no one else." Tyler's chest tightened. He almost broke. Almost. But then he remembered every lonely night, every excuse, every time she hadn't shown up for him. And with a steady breath, he said, "I'm not your option anymore, Veronica." Figure it out. He hung up. Still, he wasn't heartless. A few minutes later, he texted her the number of a reliable 24-hour tow service. Then he set his phone on a nightstand and rolled over, the hum of the city outside Jared's apartment lulling him into uneasy sleep. By morning, the fallout had begun. Through mutual friends, he learned that Veronica had indeed called the tow service. They demanded $150 up front. She had only $27 in her wallet and a maxed-out credit card. She tried calling more people. Damien finally answered around 4 a.m., too drunk to drive, his voice slurred with excuses. Her glamorous work friends didn't answer at all, or claimed they were too busy. Her parents, phones on Do Not Disturb, slept through the whole ordeal. In the end, it was Becca, her old college roommate, someone Veronica hadn't spoken to in months, who drove an hour in the dead of night. Becca followed the tow truck to mechanic, swiped her own card for the $150, then drove Veronica home in silence. By Sunday, Tyler's phone lit up with a new message. This time, not from Veronica, but from Becca. "You're a piece of S*** for leaving her stranded like that." Asterisk. Tyler exhaled slowly, typing back only one line. "I gave her the tow truck number. She had options. She chose not to handle it herself." But that was just the beginning. The real storm was coming. On Monday morning, Veronica went nuclear on social media. On Facebook. Yes, she still used Facebook. She posted a long rant accusing Tyler of financial abuse. She painted a picture of herself as a victim, claiming he had trapped her, made her dependent, then cruelly abandoned her. The comments section exploded. Strangers offered her places to stay. Old acquaintances urged her to sue the narcissist. Others praised her for finding her voice. Tyler sat back, shaking his head. Enough was enough. With cold precision, he posted screenshots, texts her begging for money, voicemails where she screamed about the canceled pizza order, credit card statements totaling over $8,400 he'd spent covering her rent, groceries, and gas over the past year. And the final dagger, a screenshot of her own words, "I've always had better options." He captioned it simply, "Just clearing up some confusion. I didn't trap anyone. I stopped being an option after being told I wasn't needed." That's not abuse. It's respecting boundaries. Still waiting on that $8,400 repayment. But maybe one of her better options can help with that. Within an hour, Veronica deleted her post. But screenshots, as Tyler knew, live forever. Mutual friends had already seen them. Some messaged Tyler privately, apologizing. Others stayed silent. But Veronica wasn't done. Not by a long shot. On Tuesday, Tyler's landlord called. Someone had tried to break his lease, pretending to be him, spinning a sob story about needing to move for work. The landlord, suspicious, phoned Tyler directly. Tyler explained everything, and the landlord promised no changes would be made without in-person verification. That night, things escalated further. Doorbell after doorbell rang. 6 separate food delivery drivers showed up with orders Tyler hadn't placed. All cash on delivery, all under his name. He had to turn them away, calling each restaurant to blacklist his address. By Wednesday morning, Tyler's phone showed 73 missed calls from random numbers. Confused, he searched online. His stomach sank. Someone, no doubt Veronica, had posted his number on Craigslist, advertising free purebred puppies. Call anytime, first come, first serve. This wasn't Heartbreak anymore. It wasn't even a breakup. This was war. By Thursday, Tyler knew this wasn't just pettiness anymore. It was destruction. His voicemail was clogged with strangers asking about puppies. His landlord was annoyed but cooperative, and his phone buzzed nonstop with messages from friends sending screenshots of Veronica's latest story, a vague caption about toxic men who weaponize money, accompanied by an old couple selfie of the two of them. Tyler stared at it, a storm of emotions swirling inside. Anger, yes, but beneath it, relief, because the mask had finally slipped. Everyone could see the chaos he had been living in, now turned outward for the world to witness. That evening, Jared knocked on his door, carrying 2 beers. "Dude," he said, dropping onto the couch. "This has gone way too far. She's unraveling. But you're calm." Tyler gave a dry laugh. "Maybe because I've already lived this. 3 years of being drained, manipulated, ignored. The only difference is now everyone else gets to see it too." Jared leaned back. "So what's the move? You want to fight back? Take her to court for money?" Tyler shook his head. "No. Fighting back means staying tied to her. She thrives on attention, even if it's hate. The Ray Alwyn is cutting every rope." Still, Tyler wasn't reckless. The next morning, he met with a lawyer, a calm woman with sharp glasses who listened quietly as he laid out the situation. She explained his options: small claims court for the $8,400, a restraining order if the harassment escalated, digital evidence preservation. Tyler took notes, but more importantly, he felt something he hadn't in months: control. Meanwhile, Veronica was losing hers. Her better option, Damien, finally went public with his side. On Instagram Live, half drunk and grinning, he admitted they'd been dating for months, but casually called her a lot to handle. The comments section lit up with laughing emojis, and people calling her messy. Her carefully curated narrative of victimhood began to fracture. By Saturday night, Veronica tried one last card, showing up at Tyler's apartment unannounced. She pounded on the door, tears streaking down her face, mascara smudged. "Tyler, please. Just talk to me. You can't erase 3 years like this. I need you. You've always been there for me." For a long moment, Tyler stood inside, hand resting on the doorknob. His chest ached. The memories came rushing back. The late-night drives, the laughter over coffee, the way she once made him feel like the only person in the room. But then the darker memories followed. The funeral she skipped, the flu she ignored, the pizza meltdown, the words, "I've always had better options." He let the silence stretch, then spoke through the door, voice steady. "You were my whole world once, Veronica. I gave everything I had. But love isn't about draining someone until there's nothing left. You taught me that the hard way. And now I'm finally choosing me." He turned the deadbolt, walked away. Her knocking slowed, then stopped. Minutes later, he heard her footsteps retreat down the hall. For the first time in years, Tyler felt free. In the weeks that followed, things settled. The prank calls stopped after he changed his number. Social media moved on to its next drama, leaving Veronica's accusations buried under newer scandals. Tyler didn't bother chasing the money, because the real debt wasn't financial. It was emotional, and he'd already paid it in full. One chilly evening, he stood on his balcony, watching the city lights shimmer against the dark sky. Jared joined him, handing him a fresh beer. "You think she'll ever figure herself out?" Jared asked. Tyler shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe, but that's not my story anymore." He raised a bottle in a quiet toast to endings, to lessons, to freedom, and for the first time in a long time, the weight in his chest was gone. The chapter was closed.